A typhoon is making its way through the Philippines, and there's another one to follow. And potential is growing for development in the Western Caribbean as we go into next week. And the results from Melissa are not getting better. I'll show you what has been going on in the tropics and what is about to happen in the tropics in this video. It's CBS Cyclone Monday, November 3rd, 2025. Typhoon Kalmagi currently has 90 mile an hour sustained winds. It did quickly intensify earlier today as it approached the Philippines. However, the Philippines caused it to weaken pretty quickly. It's part of the Ring of Fire, which is a volcanic chain that kind of just stretches around the Pacific. And mountains cause systems to lose their low-level circulation and therefore weaken pretty quickly. Jamaica did that to Melissa just last week. Invest 90W currently has 25 mile an hour sustained winds, a high chance of development in the next 24 hours. I do expect that to develop. For the Atlantic, I'm about to show you the forecast models, but now that we are in standard time, the National Hurricane Center, instead of doing advisories at 8 and 2, it is now at 7 and 1. That's the regular advisories, and then if there's an active storm, instead of 11 and 5, it is now 10 and 4. So the forecast models for starting with the Western Pacific, they show the GFS shows this first system, the first system that's making its way through the Philippines right now, intensifying pretty quickly and then hitting Vietnam, weakening a little bit before hitting Vietnam, kind of going between Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi. So not necessarily a populated area, but still very dangerous. And then this other storm, I don't know about its name quite yet, but it shows it getting to Category 5 status, equivalent to Category 5 in the Atlantic, which is a super typhoon in the Western Pacific, hitting weakening shortly before or hitting the Philippines at that intensity. The other super typhoon that hit at that intensity was Typhoon Ragasa. That was in September, I believe. Then it shows it moving up toward Taiwan, bringing a threat to Taiwan and China. So I will be watching that system very closely. The European forecast model also shows maybe not getting as strong, but at least still happening. Starting with the first typhoon, they show it not really intensifying as it approaches Vietnam, and then the other system, they show it turning north before hitting the Philippines, which is a possibility, and then making its way through some of the Japanese islands, and then moving south of Japan. The Western Caribbean threat, for starting with the European forecast model. So the Central American gyre, just a little thing. It's a low pressure system that spins over Central America in the early part of fall, late part of spring, and it'll sometimes spawn smaller low-pressure systems which can become tropical systems. That might be what's happening here, or it is what's happening here, but it really depends on what, or if it interacts with land, and if it does, how much so. So what the European model is saying is it will spawn a low pressure system, and then it'll move over Honduras, but a front moves through the United States and then down into the Yucatan Peninsula, bringing some extra moisture to it. However, the European model does not show it developing. And then the GFS forecast model, they do show it developing, but they show it not really strengthening because it is along the Nicaragua-Honduras coast, and then kind of hitting Belize or the Yucatan Peninsula as a weak tropical storm, eventually making its way into the Gulf. That kind of reminds me of Tropical Storm Sarah from last year. That was a slow-moving storm, but it was still a storm nonetheless. It was the last storm of the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season. It was rather insignificant. It did not get retired, so we'll see it again in 2030. Alright, so Melissa, the death toll is now unfortunately up to 75. The damage totals have been changing a lot throughout the day today, so this is going to change a lot. If you remember, my last video was like 7.7 billion. Now it's down to 4 billion, but previously, earlier today, it said unknown. So right now we're still in the estimate stage, and the peak intensity 185 miles an hour. It could have been stronger than that as it made landfall. The hurricane hunters had not been in it for a solid 2 to 3 hours before landfall, but they did record a gust of 252 miles an hour, one of the highest ever recorded in a tropical cyclone. And then it made landfall at this intensity. However, some computer reanalysis models, these aren't like forecast models, they show the system having winds upwards, 1 minute sustained winds, upwards of 215 miles an hour. It was likely closer to 215 than 185. So it's very possible, I don't think it was that high, but it's very possible we could have seen a 200 mile an hour hurricane, which would be the strongest in Atlantic history. So I'll keep you updated on all that's going on. So that's it for today. Guys. Thanks for watching and see ya.